I've been sitting here trying to figure out how to start this and how to talk about this in a good way. I guess I'll just ramble a bit. We're used to that. So, as you can tell, I finished watching the current, I guess it's not the current anymore, but the latest Super Sentai series I completed, Ohsama Sentai KingOhger. 50 episodes, wow. Oh, man. This was good. Like, just coming right off it. The last 3 episodes, I think. Yes, yeah, everything having to do with the final battle were so incredible. But as something that I realized watching episode 49 was, it's the only reason that it comes off as cool and awesome as it is because of the preceding 46 episodes that led into 7, 8, and 9. I mean, wait, no. 8, 9, and 50. Right, 40, 49, 50. Right. Because wow, I was not ready for that. I was wondering how the finale would go. I imagined it'd be good, but this just was way better than anything. Honestly, it was a way better finale than probably the last 5 seasons, I want to say. I don't want to sound like, oh man, you hate everything or anything, like I don't like certain things. I guess for context, just to be honest, because I think I've talked about it before, for those who don't know, I hated Dawn Brothers. I found Dawn Brothers was the worst Sentai that I've ever watched, and, like, looking back, I don't like Loopat. Like, 50% of Loopat I hate, and that's everything that has to do with Lupin Rangers. I don't like them. I thought Ghost Sager was pretty boring. Wasn't, like, for me, the only part about Ghost Sager that I remember really liking was Buredran. That's it. So those are my other ones that I've seen that I didn't like. All the other ones that I watched, which started from Geki Ranger all the way to here, and I even went back and saw Die Ranger, I enjoyed them all to different extents. Obviously, I had ones that I liked and ones that I loved. But Dawn Brothers was just a whole different level of bad. Like, I was bored. Like, that was a show that literally I dropped that show. I was like, I want to say like 10 something episodes in, and I'm just like, I don't want to watch anymore. And I didn't get back into it until it had ended. And at that point, I literally sped run the episodes. You can put like VLC to play episodes in like 2 times speed. That's what I did. I just zoomed through the episodes as quickly as I could. I wasn't even looking at them half the time. I was just kind of listening and doing something else and say, we weren't giving it a shot. I tried. And every time I tried, like, what I do is when something interesting is happening, which happened a few times through Dawn Brothers, I'll be honest, I would like take it off 2 times speed, go back to normal speed, and actually pay attention. And then the moment would pass and it'd go back to being nonsense. Dawn Brothers had a thing where even now I don't know what the plot is. I don't know what the point of that show was. I don't know what its narrative through line was, because it just felt like everything was random in terms of who are the villains exactly. It's like they're not even really any villains. Because like by the end I will say this, by the end of Dawn Brothers, we'll move on to KingOhger, just one thing. The only characters I really liked were the 3 evil ones, quote unquote. Like, I really liked them. And I didn't care about the team at all. I found the Red Ranger. It's like he was designed to be a Gary Stu. Like, that's exactly his thing, that he's just the best at everything. And I hated him. Then I go and watch Geats, where Ace is like the ace at everything. And I loved him. And so I'm like, you know what? There's a clear, distinct difference in the way that these two handle themselves. So, that's it. So, but anyway, I came off of Dawn Brothers really disappointed, even though the last, I think, 5 or 6 episodes of Dawn Brothers were actually really good, because things finally started happening. And I thought the ending was good, but it was not worth the 40-something episodes to get there. Whereas KingOhger, much more consistent. Like, I feel it had like the kind of similar thing in the first half, when they were dealing with the Bugnarok and Desnarok, and his whole thing, and Kamajimu. And it was like, okay, so what do these guys want? And well, it's really simple. They want to rule the world. They believe that them as bugs, that the world is theirs. Like, that they should be the rulers of the dominant species, not the people. So they want to take it over and ruin it, and that kind of thing. And so it felt a little bit like, there were times during the first half where it felt sort of like, let's see. A good example would be kind of like Build? No, not Build. Build. Build and X8 had this thing where every episode was just a fight against Parado, or a fight against Kronos, or a fight against what's his name? I forgot. Evolt. And they would just reset the board every time, but like there were different things that kept it interesting. for the first half of KingOhger, I did kind of wonder what the ultimate goal was, because there were so many times that it felt like they were building up to the final fight with Desnarok, but something would happen that they wouldn't be able to kill him. And of course, when Jeremy was introduced, it played into the fact that they're basically related, and there's a bunch of other stuff going on there, and thinking back on it now, it makes the first half of the series becomes a lot more understandable after the second half, where you realize like all the history of Chikyu and the kingdoms and the Bugnarok was all manipulated by Dagdedo and his jesters into this pointless, never-ending war between these two races, because that's what he does for fun. He just gets people to wipe each other out, and if they don't, then he'll do it. And like when I think back on the first half, it makes it even better. Like, I enjoyed the first half, even if it was a little formulaic at times, simply because it was better than Dawn Brothers. I liked the characters more, I was more interested in the world, so I was actually able to keep up with it and be attached to what was happening on screen versus Dawn Brothers. And then once Dagdedo and everything, and like the veil was lifted, they had the little, like 2 episodes with the Kyoryuger crossover, which I thought was cool. Then everything just like up and up. It just got even better. Like from everyone having to reclaim their kingdoms from the jesters, to discovering how to beat them, to how they beat them. Like all the fights with the jesters were fantastic. I was sad the ninja guy went out first though, because he's like the coolest one. But like I mean, Grody was fucking awesome. Like that's something I gotta give this series to. It has some of the best like suit designs I've seen in a while. Grody's suit design is so sick, like with the scythe and everything. Like he looks so badass, and it actually reminded me of the ice dude from Lupat. I hate Lupat so much, but if you remember, like he's in the opening, and he has like this really cool moment in the opening where his eyes glow and whatever. And he's the ice guy. He's a big deal because he froze someone important to the thieves and like locked them up or whatever. It was supposed to be killed them, but then they're like, no, he didn't kill them. And I'm like, that's stupid. But the ice dude, like visually, in his human form and in his monster form, looks super cool. And across the like 50 or whatever else is a Lupat, he does like 2 things. He's in like maybe 3 episodes, and then they defeat him at the ending, and I felt nothing. Like I didn't care. It's like compare this to other overarching villains, like the Weather Dopant from Double, or what's his name? Captain Marvelous's buddy from Gokaiger. Well, his former buddy. That they spend a lot of time fighting against. Like those are overarching villains that when they're defeated, it feels awesome. The ice guy, none of that. Grody had that. Like he had a cool design. I loved his power set. How they beat him, all excellent. Like it's just, man, suit designs were sick. Desnarok had a great design. Like I thought, what's his name? Kamijimu also actually reminded me of the smart guy from KingOhger. Yeah, just in terms of design in general and maybe personality, but I really liked him too. He's such a slimy asshole. Not Desnarok. I mean, yeah, Desnarok's design. Dagdedo, right. Dagdedo's design, I remember seeing it the first time, being like, what am I looking at? Because his face is so long, it's hard to tell. But that's actually, I guess, his head, and his face is under it, but the real him is in the little shell on top. Regardless, I came to love Dagdedo's. Like, I didn't think his design was bad, just strange. But the more that the episodes went on, the more I saw him, and the more that his suit actor really got into, like, emoting and everything, I was like, I love this guy's whole deal. Like, I like Desnarok. Desnarok is, like, he's the equivalent of a normal Sentai overarching villain in terms of series villain. Kind of like, from Shinkenger, I think, would be a good example. Or from Ninja, I guess. It's like, it's just the big evil guy behind everything, and then they defeat him at the end. But Desnarok got taken out halfway through, you know, and then we switched over to Dagdedo, who I just think had much more going on with him, just from his personality. And like, there's a part in the final episode, in the semi-final episode, when he tells his army to charge, and he does it in just such, it's like, I don't think it's supposed to be cool, but it's like one of the coolest things ever. Because normally when you say when you order your army to charge, you like hold a hand out or you whatever. He just kind of takes both his hands, that's like a motion of just, yeah, go get him. And it's so perfectly in character, and it was so awesome to see him do that. It's just little things like that really made me appreciate him a lot more. I mean, I already did, and it's just a great villain. His gestures were great. They carried really well their arcs, and like, I hated the lady with the mind manipulating powers by whispering people, but I loved how much I disliked them. So they were great. They were a great cavalcade. And of course, the heroes. Man, this was such an interesting team. It's so funny because like we just got off of, not just got off, but we had Zenkaiger a few years ago with a really interesting looking team when they line up, and it's like obviously because you have just 2 humans and 4 robots, so they look interesting when they all transform. I think KingOhger is on that same level. Like when the 5 of them are untransformed and they're about to change, 6 of them, they all look so distinctly different in how they dress and present themselves, and so it's just really interesting to see a team like that. See, Gira, I think they just called her Hime, I mean, like princess, I forgot her name. Ran, I think? Rita, Kaguragi Diboski, Jeremy, and then, what was Blue Guy's name? Like, gosh, they had, oh wait, Jan Magast. Okay, cool. Oh man, they were great. I love these guys. Like, they were just such a fun team because of how much they did not get along. It kind of reminds me of, I think there was another Sentai that did this, where it started with them not knowing who the other warriors were. Was that the other dinosaur one? Was that how Kyoryuger started? Or was that the other one with the knights, Ryu Soldier? I think it was one of them where they were transformed, but they wouldn't know. I know Dawn Brothers had it, but I didn't care. But they didn't know who anyone was, so I thought it'd be like, oh, they're gonna like continue acting together without being familiar with who the other is. But then they figured out who each other was like immediately, so it didn't really matter. I just liked the clashing that they had, and when this one started, it was a lot like they just did not get along. And even towards like 30 episodes in, they had their own personalities. They're rulers of their own kingdoms, and so naturally they don't just jive with whatever the other one says. And I thought that was great. It made for interesting character dynamics between how they interacted with each other, and it was a lot of fun. I mean, because honestly, I could never tell if Kaguragi was betraying them or not, because it's just like he was playing 4D chess with himself. Even when I thought that he'd been outsmarted or outmaneuvered, it turns out that he had another backup plan. And it's just genuinely surprising that I could never keep up if he was screwing up or not. And then we move on to Rakles, who I totally forgot to mention until now. Oh man, he was great. Like, as just the... Because once again, it's one of those things where when you watch the series through, you're like, oh, he's just a really power-hungry asshole, you know, up until he gets defeated. And then when he gets reintroduced, trying to become one of Dagdedo's bugsters, jesters. Wasn't that what Bugster was to me, a bug jester? No, I think it was a bug virus. But it sounds like it. That's Xaid. But, God, just... Rakles... When the twist came out that he was actually on their side the whole time, that episode, where he's having the fight with Gira, and then they're both fighting Dagdedo, and then it's flashbacking through his life, and what led to him making all the decisions that he did, I was like, wow. It kind of explains a lot, because he was always such an unnecessarily antagonistic force. It's like he wanted everything his way, and he refused to, like, bend on anything, and it's like, okay, you're taking it too far. Like, either you're just insanely crazy, evil, and power-hungry, or, like, what's going on? And, of course, there was something else back there. And, of course, that episode, when that was revealed and they were both fighting Dagdedo, has one of my favorite moments from the entire series, which is when Gira is going to strike down Dagdedo, and he says, give me a sec. I remember he says, I am Rakles Husty's little brother, Gira Husty. I believe that's it. Just like, oh, it's so good. I love that moment. It was so good. If Rakles had died there, I would have been like, fine. I thought that was like perfect use of the character. He didn't, and after finishing the series now, I'm glad he didn't, because he maintained being really cool. Like, after his flip and after, like, the truth came out, I really did continue to like him. Although I was surprised that he didn't fight with them much more after he switched sides, and I guess he was kind of like on probation, basically. They used him more for information than fighting. And I was fine with that. I mean, he got back into it in the final episode, so that's okay. And it was nice, though, to have him there. It's like their 7th basically. He was good. Yeah, I was surprised by many things in the series, but like, ultimately I was just so happy to come out of it happy, and that I enjoyed so much of it, and like, man, I would watch these last 2 episodes again. Like right now, if I was to finish like the recording, I would just go and watch, because they were incredible. And I mean, I think I said earlier that I think this was one of the best final battles ever, and it definitely felt like it. Because I think there's something that final battles and Super Sentai suffer from that Kamen Rider doesn't. And that's, generally in the Super Sentai, they follow the rule that when you defeat a monster, it comes back huge. Usually, right? There are some exceptions to some alterations to the rules in different seasons. And when it comes to the final battles, it's a lot less interesting when the mecha fights the giant version of the final villain than when the 5 or 6 rangers are fighting the final villain. I like it more when they're on foot, because it feels like they're capable of so much more. Because the robots, obviously, they're really cool, but they have limited movement, so they can't really interact much. And I've noticed there are a few series that I swear when they end, they go big with the monster goes big, they go big with their machine, and then they punch each other once, and then they do a finishing move, and it's like, there, they beat the big bad. I'm like, okay, I mean, it wasn't much. It's usually, like, I would like it if after they get defeated on foot, they're done. I think Shinkenger was one that I was kind of disappointed with, that I wish... And it was like one of the only good things about Samurai, in my opinion, was in Samurai when they defeated Xandred at the end. They actually go on foot to fight him. The Red Ranger even puts on... He's even still wearing the super suit that they have in their machines now for some reason when he defeats Xandred the final time, which I thought was really cool. But this, man... The God KingOhger fight versus Dagdedo in his like little weird cube world, that was nuts. Like, just like everything about it, how they were fighting, like the scale of it was so cool. And the final part, man, the cast put their all into those last screams, and there were some really good ones in there. And just that defeating Dagdedo that final time was excellent. Like, I'm just riding off high of the ending, so yeah, it's like, well, obviously you think it's great because of how it ended. I'm like, well, yeah, it's good when something comes out with a good ending, but that can only carry it so far. Like, once again, I maintain Dawn Brothers, fantastic ending. Kamen Rider Blade, fantastic ending. I would never go through the 45 episodes to get to those endings again. It's not worth it. So, yeah. But for this, I would absolutely watch KingOhger again. It was very enjoyable and a lot of fun. And I'm very curious as to what the next one's going to be. I don't even know what the next one's called. Looks like Boomger? Something like that? I don't know. I'll have to look up the name. But I saw they did the passing of the torch thing, and I saw the new guy. Wow, he looks weird. It's like... I've said this before. I don't know if I've said this on recording, but I know I said this with my sister since we've been watching Kamen Rider for years now. It's that since we hit Reiwa, they've gone off the walls in terms of how they view these series and how they present them, because they feel so much more different now. That's not to say that all the Heisei ones were identical, no, but like there was a formula, and like for Reiwa they're like, yeah, no, we're not doing anything similar to that, like at all. Like that's how these seasons have felt, especially coming off of from like Zenkaiger, Dawn Brothers, and now KingOhger. They're just so much different in how they're presented, how they act. And as someone said, I didn't realize this until I was like halfway through Dawn Brothers. I remember reading a comment where someone was like, oh yeah, they never roll called in this series. I was like, oh yeah, they didn't. And they really didn't. They didn't have like a complete roll call in Dawn Brothers, I think, till the final episode. And they never had a complete roll call that was like a legitimate roll call, because it was always interrupted by something, even in the final episode, because everyone else does their thing, but when Red Guy is about to, there's this whole moment because of, you know, stuff happening before he actually announces himself. And KingOhger, even, I didn't even notice that it wasn't having roll calls either. As far as I'm aware, I think there was only one roll call in KingOhger, and it was at the end of the episode where they were fighting the single hit dude. I can't remember his name, but he's the one who they had to get a new configuration to defeat him. He's the one hit guy who, like, a single strike from his sword like destroys entire armies and stuff like that, which is really cool. And then Jeremy's mother, I believe, was the one who killed him in the first place. So that was, so that happened. I didn't even realize. Right, that's how Jeremy ends all his recaps. Which also, it's a very good personality, like a good like presentation point that Jeremy's the one doing like voicing all the recaps and all that stuff. I really like when it was revealed, when he was revealed and he joined the team and everything like that. And it turns out he's the one you've been listening to this whole time. I was like, that's cool. It brings to mind Build, you know, where the recaps and stuff was done by Sento and Banjo. And it turns out that that's from the end of the series, that they're recounting their exploits and all that stuff. And I'm just like, that's really cool. It's a really cool framing method for the callbacks and all that stuff, and I really enjoyed it. Man, KingOhger was good. KingOhger was great. Like, what a blast. And I still have the movie to watch. I haven't watched it yet. I know that for every season, I think this applies to Sentai and Writer, they have a movie that airs during the course of the series, and then they have a movie after the series end, which is usually the crossover. So this movie probably gonna explain some of the things that I didn't get, because admittedly during the finale some stuff was happening and I had no idea what it was, and I'm like, is that from the movie? I did think it's weird, if anyone recalls from watching the finale, in episode 49, yeah, that's when the whole team is out, so they're trying to get recovered and healed to fight Dagdido for the finale. Himeno Ran sees someone coming up to her, and she like gets ready to fight, and then they grab her, and it's a medical officer, you know, from her kingdom and stuff like that. Who the fuck was that? I expected it to be, you know, the chubbier lady who we see all the time at her, attending her and being there when they need medicine and stuff. But no, she was somewhere else. I'm like, then who's this that caught her? I don't have any specific knowledge of who that is. You would think they would have like a more recurring character take that role, like even her butler. But no, I was confused by that. Also confused about this Gate to the Dead that they brought up, and Ryan Husty, which they mentioned as if it was something that they knew about. So I'm guessing maybe that was something from the movie. But damn, once again on the topic of amazing suit design, the original Husty, the first Shugodon King. That's like one of the coolest designs I've ever seen. And to know that he's only in like, what, 2 scenes? It's like, oh, it's like, whoever made that popped off hard. And it's unfortunate that they don't get to use it more because he looks awesome. That's one of the coolest things I've ever seen in Sentai. And there's a lot of really cool Sentai design suits and villains. I know I've mentioned a few in the past, but going back to KingOhger, I think KingOhger had a great one. Just real quick, Genus, I believe, was the main bad guy, that one. His design was cool. His right-hand lady was cool. The cube guy was awesome as the cube guy and as his real identity. And the smart dude, like they all looked super cool. Oh yeah, I think also KingOhger brought in the guy with the hook, the whale hunting dude. Yeah, the anchor, I mean. They had really great designs back then. Like, there's a lot of super cool monster designs all across the series, and Rhyniol, I think was his name, Rhyniol, something like that. Whatever, the first Husty, sick. So, like, man, I'm probably just gonna keep rambling, so I guess I'd cut this short, but all that is to say, Ohsama Sentai KingOhger, fantastic. And now that it's done, I think it's good for me to do a, what's it called, a tier list. I kind of wanted to do one a few weeks ago, and then I forgot about it. So next time I get some time off, I should try to form a tier list of the writers and the Sentais that I've seen, which is a lot. Because once again, I've been watching consistently since Geki Ranger, and also you throw Dai Ranger in there. And then for Kamen Rider, I've seen every Heisei and Reiwa series that we have so far, except for Hibiki. And then I went back and watched Black. And I guess if we want to count it, I've also seen Amazons and Black Sun on Amazon. Where else? So, you know, that's a lot of fun stuff to rank and see how much of it I can recall. Yeah, but this was good. This was fun. I enjoyed it greatly, and I'm looking forward to the next one. Of course, I used to watch Kamen Riders and Sentais at the same time, but sometime before, it was during Ryu Soldier. I've mentioned this before. I got burnt out on it from just watching so much back to back that I started spacing it out, and so now I actually only watch one at a time. So As of now, I've seen almost nothing of God Card. I watched one episode of it, just out of curiosity, and then I decided, no, I'm gonna wait till I finish KingOhger. So now that KingOhger's done, I'm gonna go back and start watching God Card. And then when God Card's done, I'll move back and check out Boomger, whatever it's called. Yeah, I'm hoping that it's good. I'm confident that it'll be entertaining. You know, I'm like maybe it's just because KingOhger left me in a good mood, but yeah, I'm looking forward to watching another Sentai many months from now, after we're all done with God Card. Which I'm curious about that one too, because the one episode I saw was very strange, so I'm really curious as to how that series is gonna play out. But yeah. And before we leave, let me actually look the damn thing up. Okay, the name of the next Sentai, the 48th one, is Bakuage Sentai Boomger. Well, we'll have to see what that has to offer. Anyway, until next time, y'all. Hasta.